Okay, so this worksheet is broken down into kind of categories. You'll see them at the bottom left, these different sheets. So the first one is prints, and then the next one's wall art, where I have my metals, canvases, Edge product, which that's a proprietary product with H&H. It's really cool. I actually have some hanging on the walls. I don't know if you can see them right now, but they're hanging on the walls. They're really cool. You can check them out. Just search Edge, Edge Collection, H&H. But anyway, wall art, and then books, which we call albums now, we don't call them books, and then some of our specials pricing, our package pricing. But let's jump into the first one, just so you can get an idea about how this works and what's going on kind of behind the scenes. So there's a few things that we're taking into consideration. We want to list out our lab costs. So what is our lab charging us for these prints? Currently, we use H&H Color Lab, and we have all of our prints mounted on styrene. So one quick side note with that, reason why I mount every single print, doesn't matter the size, is because of that very first person that held up that loose print and was like, what makes this cost $55? That person made me think, and I'm like, how can I? Now, obviously, the print itself, that's not what's $55. It was our time, our energy, our creativity. That's why it was $55. But I wanted to make one extra step to create more division between what we offer and what Walmart or CVS or Rite Aid. I wanted to create more division from what we offer versus those places. So when the clients come in and feel our print samples, it is noticeably different and higher end feeling because it's physical, it feels higher end. So a quick side note, that's just something we do. I've been doing it for probably 3 years now. Every client loves it. They're like, wow, these are intense. Or they're picking up their print order from our studio and they pick up the box, they're like, whoa, these are heavy. So it's awesome. It makes the client feel like they're getting more, even though it's just a physical thing. It's not like a strategy more than that. But anyway, so prints. You see this first column here, or second column, I should say. Second column reflects all of the different sizes. So we input, these are the sizes we offer our clients. We don't want to muddy it up too much, so we don't want to offer every size that our lab offers. But we picked our popular sizes, and then that's what we're kind of inputting. So you can change these. You can modify what sizes are available. You could add some if you wanted to, but this is what we're selling in our studio. So in the second column, the next column, we have all of our print costs. So what is the lab actually charging us? The things taken into account here are obviously the print itself, and we're also including the styrene. What does each print cost to have mounted? So we want that reflected, obviously. And then from that point, maybe your lab you're with, maybe they charge shipping or something. You might need to try to find a way to build that in. But our lab, H&H, does not charge shipping, so that's kind of one thing we don't have to worry about. But print cost, putting them all in there. The very next column is the price. So this is what we charge. This is what we offer the client. But there's a few steps to get there first. So it is the next column, but to get there, there's a few things happening. First thing, right here in the bottom left, we have our cost of goods multiplier. So I joked about and said in the beginning of this how there's equations like the PPA equation, benchmark equation, where it says 2.85 multiplier and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of pooped on it a little bit, but there's a very real thing that we need to do here, and that's we're multiplying the cost of goods so that at minimum, we're making at least 75% profit just strictly on cost of goods. We're never gonna charge that little, so I don't recommend it, but we have a 4 times multiplier on here so that our cost of goods charges us, it costs us 25% of the final sale. Now, again, that's not where we're gonna leave it at. We want to take it higher than that, but that is just kind of like a safeguard. It gets us to the point where 25%, and we're not, eating costs. The other mentality behind this that some people don't think about, and I actually have a story about this that just happened literally 2 days ago from filming this, is you need to think about the sake of kind of reprints or fixing your errors, even if it's not your error. And what I mean by that is think about Amazon. This is a good way to think about this. Amazon, you order a product and you say you don't like it, or it's the wrong product, or it's just not as good, or shipping messed up something when they brought it to your door and UPS just punted it across the football field to get it to your house. That happens. What happens from that point when you say, I don't want this anymore, I want to return it? Does Amazon fight you on it? Or do they just do it? Do they just fix the issue, even if it's not their fault? Yeah, they do. And that is what people love about Amazon. Love Amazon or not, that is a great mentality and customer service aspect to Amazon. Do you think Amazon's just eating all of those costs? No, they're making up the money on the back end with wholesaling the stuff, selling it off. There's ways that they're not completely eating the full cost, but they have found that it is worth it to just accept the returns, fix their errors, instead of fighting their customers. We should do the same thing. If we get something in or something gets messed up in our order, we should be able to, without a thought, fix it. So the thing that just happened to me 2 days ago was a client ordered an album, and we review the order on our screen with the client, and we make sure that everything looks right before we take payment. And they, on the order, they ordered an 8x8 album, and now here we are 6 weeks later on album delivery and print delivery. The mom is in here saying, no, we ordered the 10x10. And so I'm kind of like, okay, but I have your order here and you ordered the 8x8. And she kind of fought me. I wasn't fighting her. I was just like, I just want you to see that I'm not BSing here. I'm not pulling a fast one on you. Here is your itemized receipt. It shows an 8x8. That's all I charged you for. I said, but if you guys still want to pay the difference of the 8x8 to 10x10, I'm happy to fix that for you guys. And that 8x8 will just become a studio sample. Now, the price difference between 8x8 to 10x10 is not enough to cover the cost of that album. I'm gonna be eating, I think I calculated $100. It's gonna cost me $100 after they pay me the difference. It's gonna cost me $100 to fix this error that technically was theirs. But I'm not worried about that because of these equations built into this worksheet. We have accounted for that. If we mess up an album or someone's album gets messed up, we could replace it technically, I think 8 times over before we break even, before it starts costing us money, literal costing us money. So anyway, long story short, the multiplier in here is to make sure that number one, you have those safeguards in place, but number two, also make sure that if you're charging the bare minimum of this multiplier right here, then you're at least at 25% cost of goods without accounting for labor. So this little category to the right is the most important element and the entire thing that changed our pricing structure at Coffee Creations. When I was telling you earlier about how I was unsettled and did not feel good about charging people, this astronomical price for a canvas versus the same size in a print, it was because this was missing. And this base price is the idea of per image, what should I make? We spend time editing, we spend time retouching, we spend time getting the order placed with our lab, we spend time inspecting it, packaging it, making sure it looks good, maybe even shipping it to the client. We spend a lot more time creating the image, learning our craft, paying our phone bills, paying our gas bills. There's so many things that go into each image that it's hard to quantify with just saying, 16 by 20 here is this much, 16 by 20 here is this much because of this one multiplier. So by adding a base price, that's what this little number right here, this $80, this is what we did this last year, and we're about to update it for this year. This $80 is saying, at minimum, I'm gonna make this much money per image. And then this 4 times multiplier is gonna take into account this 4 times multiplier. So if I can just show you this equation here on the sheet, number one, before I do that, I do wanna say, we make all of our 8x10s and smaller the same price. If you look on this column here, they are almost the same price, as far as our lab costs. So we want them to be reflected the same on our pricing to our client. $80 is what we charge 8x10 and smaller. So right there, because our base price is set, we want our bottom's print, smallest print to be $80. So there's no equation there. We just set that by the base price. So as soon as we increase the base price, it's gonna change there. But as soon as we move into past the gift print. So 8 by 12, we move up to that. 8 by 12, what's happening is we are taking the base price, $80. Actually, let me just do this. I'm gonna write it out on the screen. It might make more sense. So we're taking our base price, and then we are going to multiply it, or I'm sorry, we are going to add it to the cost of goods multiplier times our cost of goods. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second here. So if we just follow that train, so 8 by 12, I'll show you how we get there. $80 plus this 1042 times 4. That's how we're getting that number. And you can actually see the equation in the top here. You can see that it's, and if you don't use spreadsheets very often, that's why I wanted to break that down for you, how that's working. But essentially, you'll see it right there. It's literally taking the base price, $80, and adding the 10 times our lab cost. And that's how we're coming up to that price. So if I say this is too much, you're looking at this pricing, you're like, Isaac, that's way higher than I've ever charged. I can't do that right now. Like, my clients would be shocked, like it'd be insane. Okay, I get it. I totally get it. I'm not gonna expect that from you, but here's the cool thing about this. We can just hop in here on the base price and I'm gonna drop it down to 30. Everything else drops down. All the equations are taken into account and you're charging the prices you need to charge. That's how, I hope that makes sense, but that's how simple it can be. And the rest of these columns here, I made them just calculate for me so I know here's how much profit I'm making, literal profit, that's not counting time, and then profit percentage of how much does it cost versus how much I'm making, cost of goods percentage. So the cool thing about even at $30, we're still at a 23% cost of goods. And that's not including time and effort. So I definitely don't encourage you charging this little, but this could be a starting point. This could be a starting point for you. And your lab costs are gonna be different than mine. Unless you do mounted prints with H&H, they'll be exactly the same at the time of recording this video. But your lab costs are gonna be different than mine. So you might see profit raised in different places or lower or whatever. You'll see it kind of change based on what you want to offer your clients. Okay, so let's jump over to albums and see what's happening here. It's very similar in a lot of ways, but just a few small tweaks. So you'll see here on the first column, I've got the base cost, and all of these prices are based on our album company, which is Kiss Albums or Kiss Books. So at the time of recording this, pricing might be different, but this is our album costs. We do linen, leather, and we got 3 different sizes. And actually one thing I wanna say as I'm looking at this, we simplify this in a lot of ways for our clients. So our clients don't see, what would that be, 3, 6, 9, 12. Our clients don't see 12 options. We simplify this in some ways on our price sheet. That's just a design thing, but anyway. First column here, we've got the base priced, but then the second column, you'll see something that's a little different. So we have it right here that says with options. What I'm talking about there is the options are something that we like to add to almost every album. So logo debossing costs us $10. We like to have our logo stamped right in the back of the album, just to put that like final seal on it, kind of like a keepsake in a lot of ways where they can be proud that they had their photos taken at Coffee Creations. So the stamp costs us $10 per album. And then we add a Tyndale, so Tyndale Photographic, the company, you can get album boxes from them. And they cost $5 if you want to add them to any one of these sizes. So we have all these custom Tyndale boxes that we're including with every album. And then the final thing, fine linen, this one's a little unique because this is just an option. If a client does a linen with us, they have this fine linen category where the linens are a little bit nicer, they're just different. And when Kiss released those, I decided I didn't want to make it even more confusing for our clients and make it an upgrade per se. So what I did was every single thing, or every album we offered, linen album we offered, was now $30 more. So then we built it into the price, and then now we don't have to worry that we don't confuse our clients with that. We don't tell them, yeah, here's our linen options, but if you want to pay $30 more, here's our fine linen. We don't want to confuse them. They already have a ton of decisions they're making, and so we want to just build it into the price so we're covered if someone gets it, and we make more money if they don't. Like, super easy as that. So that's what the with options is. So we, just like before, we've got our cost of goods. That is our cost of goods category. And then right next to that is our price. And to get to this price, this is where things are a little different. Instead of doing a per image album, where it's like, say, this album is 20 pictures, this album is 25 pictures, we keep it kind of simple. We build our albums in Smart Albums, and we make it flow. So we don't really base it on the image, like how many are included. And we just want to safeguard ourselves by putting a base price on the entire album instead of a per image concept, if that makes sense. So we made ours just $800. We need to make at least $800 on top of the cost of the album to make it worth it. This price will be going up this year, but this is what we've been at for this last year. And we've got our multiplier. Our multiplier is not 4 for this case because we're making a good chunk on the base price, and so we can cover ourselves a little bit better in there, and we're not too worried about that. So we got a multiplier of 2 just so that we're building in the fact of if we need to reprint this album, it's built in and we're still making $800. So I know that's a lot. I know that's kind of, like I said, it's kind of complex in some ways, but it's very simple in a lot of ways as well. So I want you to kind of take this and play with this worksheet because it can work for you if you just kind of think through, how much do I really need to make? What is my photography worth? And that's something that I can't sit here and tell you what that is. I could tell you, start charging $80 for an 8x10, but what good does that do if you can't confidently sit in a sales room or sit across a lead and be like, we charge $80 because that's what we're worth, and ending it at that. It can be as simple as that, but just understanding what goes into it is important. Too often in the years that I've kind of built my business or changed my business, I have just done what feels right or feels good, and it was a lot of BS numbers. I was just pulling them out of nowhere. I'm just like, well, I don't know, this sounds good, or this sounds like it doesn't cost that much. I just kind of based it around feelings, and it wasn't so much calculated. It wasn't something that was built out where I could confidently look back at this and go, yeah, this is what it costs. Like, this is what it charged. So I want to encourage you to play with this, this whole worksheet, play with different numbers. This is what I did at the very beginning. We kind of moved some numbers around or tried different base prices and kind of saw what was making sense. Does this work for our business? Because the reality of it is I've got mouths at home to feed. My employee has mouths at home to feed. We've got a studio we need to pay for. There's a lot of things that go into your photography that I can tell you, even if I can't tell you how much you're worth, I can tell you you're worth more than you probably think. And that's the truth of it. We get too caught up in those feelings of thinking we're charging too much. And it can be a scary place. But I want to pose you with this question. If right now you doubled your prices, or say you took this and it spit out numbers that were almost double of what you charged before, and that scares you, and then it shows that only half the amount of clients book you, only half the amount of clients as before come to you, but you're charging double, where does that put you at? That puts you at a whole lot more free time to do the things you love and spend time where it matters most, with family, with friends, with creating new memories. It allows you to do more and spend less time. That's so important. And that was a realization, again, in these last few years for me, that I'm like, no, we are worth this, and there's no doubt about it.